The Unfiltered by Jade.
Jade.
Welcome to The Unfiltered by Jade, where we educate, empower, and entertain. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, download, donate, and make everybody know about this.
Beats by RB Records.
Shopping assistance, your style, your budget. Our services include online and local shopping for individuals and businesses, personal shopping, purchasing of company and office supplies, importing and exporting small packages across Jamaica and worldwide, and helping you find unique gifts and items for all events and occasions. Contact us at 876-919-5195 or shoppingassistance2015@gmail.com. Shopping Assistance, your style, your budget.
Welcome back to The Unfiltered by Jade. Today we have with us here David Mendoza III, and we're going to speak to him about surviving to thriving. David, he's an author. He is a retired federal law enforcement officer. He is a Marine Corps veteran. He's a former pastor, and he's now a minister. Hi, David.
Hello, Jade. How you doing?
I am great. How are you doing?
Good so far.
Nice. It's good to have you on the show. I'm looking forward to hearing your story.
Yes, thank you for having me.
No problem. All right, so let's get into it. I want you to share a bit of your personal story with PTSD and anxiety.
Okay. So as you mentioned, Jade, I am a Desert Storm Marine Corps veteran, and I'm also a retired federal law enforcement. So through those two experiences, I developed PTSD. I did go through a couple of situations, not only in the Marine Corps, but also through law enforcement. And that kind of added to the anxiety and, the PTSD. And I struggled with it, coming out of the Marine Corps. And honestly, I did not know, that it was PTSD. I had never even heard of PTSD. But, and that's one of the things, right? That when I got out, there was really no resiliency program or anything like that identifying or even to assist you into transferring into civilian life. So when I dealt with PTSD, I didn't know I didn't know what was wrong with me. And of course, it increased as the years went by. It kind of got worse to where it affected me to where I did not want to leave my home. I did not want to socialize with anyone. It was a dark time. It was a dark place. Even thinking back right now, it's kind of hard because it's in there. But yeah, I thought I was alone. I thought I was, for a while there, I thought I was the only one it felt like I was the only one going through this. Not knowing that there are many brothers, military brothers and military law enforcement brothers. It doesn't stop there either, Jade. This affects a lot of people, especially after COVID. But I'm pretty sure we'll talk about that. But yeah, that's been my experience with it so far.
What are some of the biggest challenges that you faced in your healing journey? Even before the healing journey started, what are some of the challenges that you faced?
So one of the greatest challenges was, I mentioned it, and that was that at the time, there was no resiliency programs available through the VA or the military. And if there was, I was not made aware of. It wasn't until years later. Even in law enforcement, didn't have, I was in federal law enforcement. And at the time when I went in, this was in the early 90s. There was no such thing as a peer support program or chaplaincy program or anything like that. So a lot of us, I know for myself, that was one of the greatest challenges, trying to be normal on the outside, or at least seem somewhat normal on the outside, knowing that I wasn't in the inside. That affected everything, Jade. Honestly, it affected my marriage, my performance. I got into drinking a lot, heavily. Of course, I try to hide that as much as I could. It eventually caught up with me. So yeah, that was one of the greatest challenges, not having, or at least not knowing what help was there for me.
And the thing about that, David, if it is that you yourself going through it, you don't have that support, or you don't have the knowledge of support in terms of helping with PTSD. Persons who are around us probably are not privy to that also. So it's like, if you don't know how to deal with it, how are persons around you going to be able to know how to deal with it, right? And if you are not
Exactly.
sure what is happening also, persons around you really can't define it too.
Yes, exactly. And, that was one of the things, right? The lack of knowledge. I'm pretty sure there was some sort of help back then through counseling or otherwise, but it's not as, I hate to use the word common, but it wasn't as known as well known as it is today. Cause I know towards the end of my law enforcement, even then believe it or not, I became a chaplain because of my struggle. And I also became a peer support member, and I had to basically choose one or the other. And I ended up staying with peer support just because, people were more open to that. But it just showed that, what they started seeing, the agencies, the military, even the VA, they started seeing that, what, we need to help people. We need to help our own. And honestly, that's where, as I mentioned, my life changed. I had been 5 years into being a law enforcement officer, and it just, everything came to a crossroads. And actually, I wrote a book about it, Jade. For the same reason, to help people out. I'm hoping that this book, and honestly, if I could do this for free, I would, and I still do. I do try to give my books away, but I want it, to help people that, might not be in the same area that I'm at. So what best way but to write a book? And, like I said, I came to a crossroad, Jade, 5 years into my law enforcement career. Everything came crashing down, and that's where my life changed.
So what you're saying is, and that's the next question I have for you, David, in terms of importance, something that's important to survival is actually a community where you can get support system, peers that actually know what is happening, and, you don't feel isolated, you don't feel alone. So now that you know the importance of it, for persons out there who are going through PTSD or they're experiencing anxiety from PTSD, etc., what would you say to them in terms of the importance of finding a community?
Yes, Jade. So when you are in that dark zone, it seems like there's no way out. Honestly, it seems like, what, nobody gets me. There's no help for me. Even if I do go get help, it's not going to work. And honestly, as I mentioned, I began getting help right about the 5 year mark, as I mentioned before. It came crashing down. As I mentioned, I had issues with alcohol, and this happened off duty, of course. Being a law enforcement officer, I got in trouble. Honestly, I got arrested, and I had got, and I'm going to mention this because, I have to. God had already been dealing with me, but I had ignored that calling, that help. And it wasn't till this happened that I had to re-examine my life. And, my case ended up being dismissed. However, that opened up my eyes to where, what, this is not working. I need to do something about this, because either another worse thing can happen. So that's where I started, honestly, going to my local church. And before then, I just had and this is, I'll be honest with you, this happened on my way to work. I pulled over on the side of the road, and right there and then I just had a long chat with the Lord, with God. And I said, what, I know what the answer is, because my grandma has shown me since I was little what the answer is. And I've just been running away from that. And you know what? In not so many words, I surrendered everything. I said, what, God, here I am. I don't know what my next step is, but if you can use this mess that I have in me, here I am. And so from that day forward, as I mentioned, things didn't change overnight, but something had changed in me already. There was a peace that I just can't describe. Now I understand that not everybody's religious. However, that's what worked for me.
Oh, I'm religious. I understand that piece. I do understand that piece.
Yes, yes. So, it, like I mentioned, that's honestly opened the door for me.
Okay.
That, as I mentioned, not everything changed overnight. It was a day-to-day progress.
And, for other persons, it may not happen overnight for them, but it might be gradually, right? And
Right.
yes, I do believe God gives us that peace that we need sometimes to even help us, even going through these hard traumas that we're facing. Many of us are facing it. Many people, they're facing it because of what they have experienced, what they have seen firsthand, what they have been privy to. But I think the peace of God also helps in creating the space that we need, and He provides the tools and the people that we also need
Yes.
to get the help that we need at a particular time. As long as we stay and sit in the process and allow God to do what He's doing, I think we will. I mean, sometimes people don't get out of it because they're not to God's glory for whatever reason it is. But I think people will be helped much better if it is that they had that kind of peace and that kind of solid foundation to help them to
Exactly.
thrive on, right?
Yes.
David, what are some misconceptions that people often have about PTSD and anxiety that you'd like to clear up for us?
One of the bigger misconceptions that I experienced was that I believed that I could never live a normal life again. Having this PTSD, honestly, I felt that things were never going to get better. And honestly, I was like, well, maybe I should resign because I cannot operate. But you know what? I always lean on 2 Corinthians chapter 12, where Peter, I'm so sorry, where Paul speaks about the thorn in the flesh.
Oh, yes.
I always lean on that one because I can see, I experience what Paul's talking about, because I asked the Lord to remove this from me. I've asked him time and time again, and though things did improve, it was still there. And I'm like, Lord, why do I still suffer through anxiety? Why do I still feel this way at certain situations, And one time in my prayer time, Jade, I honestly heard his voice, and there's again that peace that surpasses all understanding. I mean, I just can't explain it, because, and this is the premises of my whole book, right? I just don't talk about my law enforcement or military. It's honestly more of a devotional type. And I talk about how we all face challenges. Even our country right now, we're facing a big challenge, right? As we all seen it, whether you're on this side or on that side, we're all going through it. And honestly, I experienced, through my PTSD and through the things that I've gone through, you come to a fork in the road where that challenge is either going to break you or make you, honestly. And the premises of my book is, hey, listen, we all face challenges. The question is, how are we going to deal with that challenge? Are you going to let it be a stumbling block, or are you going to let it be a stepping stone? And honestly, yes. And honestly, with God and only with God was I able to convert my trial, my challenge of dealing with this to a stepping stone. Because without his help and without the help of other veterans, Christian veterans, honestly, I would still be in the dark. And, and I'll be honest with you, Jade, from time to time, it wants to sneak up on me. Like I mentioned, it's still there. But now I know that, you know what? Yeah. What the enemy intended for bad, I will
turns for good.
It's to glorify God. Yes.
And also, I mean, we're talking about the thorn in our flesh, but sometimes we also have to remember that the thorn is for ministry, right?
Yes.
So if it is that you are not going through what you're going through, and I'm not saying it's easy by no means. And if what you're going through is to help other persons, because, hey, here you are helping people, because of what you have experienced at first hand. If it is that you didn't experience it firsthand, then what would the ministry be like, right? So and for myself, I don't know about anybody else, but myself, when I'm listening to someone, I want to hear a firsthand experience that you went through this and how you overcame it. And if it is that you're still going through it, what are you using to support or help you? Because those things make a difference than if it is I'm reading a book and you're talking on behalf of somebody. No, it's your story. It's your ministry. It's about you. It is the gift that God has given you. Your thorn can be your ministry, and that's what it is.
Yes. Yes. So,
and yes, as you said, dark times will come up, but what do you do with it? You still turn those into ministry too.
Jade, and it was about halfway through. No, not halfway. I'm sorry. After I had honestly given my heart to Christ, I thought about going full-time ministry. I thought about giving up the badge and the gun. So I prayed to the Lord. I go, Father, what is the direction you want me to take? And honestly, I heard his voice again. And this is what he told me. He says, hey, listen, son, you are my child that I've called into to be a law enforcement officer. You're not a law enforcement that I've called to be a Christian. And by those words, what I got was, hey, listen, who better can relate than one of them? And
right.
One of a good buddy of mine, I was telling him this right after, like the next day, he says, look around you, David, this is your congregation. And of course he was pointing to all the partners and everything. And that was like a big awakening for me, knowing that God had called me to that place and knowing that, he was going to use my weaknesses and, with his strength it's made perfect, perfect for others, and again, what better testimony than, hey, I've gone through it. I know exactly where you're at, and I can tell you there is a light at the end of the tunnel. There is help.
There is hope. There is hope. What advice would you give to someone who feels stuck in survival mode right now, David?
Yes, Jade. What I would tell them is, friend, listen, you're not alone. It feels like you are, but honestly, that's just a big lie. You are not alone. Take one day at a time. Seek help. There is help. I promise there is help. We just have to look for it. And honestly, it's there. And again, you're not alone. You are loved and you are going to make it.
You're going to make it. People do need to know that they're going to make it and you are loved.
Yes.
That's important. Affirmatives that people need to know, people need to hear so that they can believe it too. Because people struggle with that, especially if no one is around them telling them that, because people don't understand what they're going through, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. I want you, David, to tell us where is it that we can find you? Where can we find your books? Tell us about your books.
Yeah, Jade. So my books, the easiest way is to go to my website, and it's www.booksforhisglory.com. And there you can find all my books and you can find all my social media. My books are like all other authors on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Books A Million, and the list goes on and on. But that's the best way. So my books, all of them, Jade. I mean, because I'm also a children's book author.
Okay.
I have a lot of children's books. Actually, I've written 7 of them, but they're all faith-based. They're all made to give hope and encouragement.
Right.
One of them. My kids dealt with bullying. They dealt with depression because of COVID and all that. And I've written books about that, and honestly, I used my service bulldog as one of my books. His name is Gideon, and he was a very scared bulldog when I got him. And through time, just working with him and just honestly nourishing him and loving him, he became a brave bulldog. So that's where I got my title for that. That was my second book. But yeah, these books are, again, they're there to help. They're there, for children. But again, I also have adult books for self-help and just to give hope and encouragement.
Nice. Thank you so much, David. Thank you so much for helping us. And even helping those out there who feel like they don't have a voice and they don't know how to use their voice and they don't know where to start, where to find the kind of support that they need. And those who are even embarrassed or ashamed of it, thank you so much for speaking up on behalf of the people who consider themselves voiceless. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. And it's my pleasure to help who I can help, because I know how it is.
Yes, definitely. Most definitely, David. So thank you so much again. And I want to say thank you so much to my listeners on the Unfiltered by Jade. And we'll be back next week, Tuesday. Thank you.